Welcome back to B3, Businesses Building Bridges. I'm Shara, co-host with Miss Diane. I am the owner of Sift and Sort, a downsizing and organizing company. And here's my partner, Diane.
Well, thank you for the intro, Shara. It's great to be here again. This is episode number 2 we're doing. Mm-hmm. I am the owner of Boney Booty's Beach Rentals here in Flagler. And also, my husband and I own Tree Trends, which is big on smalls. We do small kind of woodworking things. Think cutting boards and kitchen gadgets, things like that.
So cool.
It's great to be here. And our very first guest on Businesses Building Bridges, or affectionately known as B3, is Mr. Alan Lowe. Welcome to the podcast, Alan.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be your first guest.
Yes. Well, it was only fitting for us because here we are in the podcast studio at Flagler Voice, and that is in itself a bridge to where we want to go with this.
Yeah. You are our first bridge.
I am the bridge
to
start with.
You are the bridge.
Well, I'll tell you, I agree with you. I've and my partner Mike, for the last little over a year, have been doing everything we can to try to include businesses and allow businesses to come in and, in their instances, build bridges with their customers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's extremely important. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but the bridge that you guys are trying to build is between businesses.
Correct.
Yeah.
They also call that referral partners in the networking world. But, I look at it like if you do flooring, you're going to need to have somebody who can assist with down the road cleaning those floors, right? So you're in a partnership kind of with that person. Mm-hmm. Or if you're an attorney that does this flavor of law, you are going to want to have a bridge into another attorney who does a different flavor of law. That's the way I see it in this community.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because years ago, I owned a scuba shop. I'm a master scuba diver trainer, and I owned a scuba shop. And when you open up a scuba shop, you buy into the brands that you're going to sell, but you have to buy the brand. So you own the inventory. You're not like taking it in and then paying it off as you sell it. You own the inventory. So you have to do a big buy. So you don't carry a lot of brands because it's expensive. So I tried to network with other scuba shops in the area that had different brands than what I was selling. So if somebody came in and they were loyal to a specific brand, I would send them to that shop. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any of the other shops in our local area to agree to that. They all wanted to be the king and all that stuff. But networking and sending business back and forth is really the way to survive, in my opinion.
It is.
I agree.
So I want to know how you got started with this platform of Flagler Voice. How did that start?
Not the way...
We only have 30 minutes.
Not the way it appears now. In the very beginning, my business partner Mike and I, in a general conversation, found out that we were each looking to put a podcast together. I was doing it because I was crazy enough, like you, Sharon, to run for a political office. And it's extremely expensive to be on the radio. It's extremely expensive to be in the newspaper. It's everything is extremely expensive. So I wanted to design a podcast where I could get my voice out to a wider audience and more consistently for a lot less money. I didn't get the studio built in time to be able to do that, but Mike was also he's the executive director and founder of the Flagler County Drug Court Foundation, and he was looking to put a podcast together to further reach out and educate the local community on the issues with drug addiction and so forth. And we said, when we found out we were both looking to do something like that, it was, well, why do two? Why not combine the talents and so forth, build one studio, and then be able to open it up to others? So that's kind of how this whole thing evolved into what it is now. We've only been about a year and two, maybe, I guess it's a year and 2 months now that we've been doing this studio, and we have a listening audience, as a studio listening audience, of over 200,000.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it really exploded. I don't know how, but I'm really thrilled.
Well, I think podcasting has taken over now. I think people are, listening more instead of watching more or just glancing more. And you really have created something that we needed.
I thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that, in my mind, radio, for instance, which I think if you look at it as our closest competitor, even though we're not really in the same vein, but I mean, you got to look at who your local competition is, if that's what you want to look at it. Radio is linear. You're driving down the road, you're listening to your radio. As soon as you've heard it, it's gone. You can go back later to some of the radio stations are recording it and they're calling it podcasts, and you can go back and you can listen to it or whatever later on. But it's basically a linear thing, and commercials come on and they're gone. It's all background noise basically when you're driving down the road, and most people don't listen to radios in their home anymore. It's just when you're in your car driving down the road or at your work, they have music playing in the background. Podcasts, in my mind, is a destination. You go to that podcast because whatever's being said is something that you want to hear. So you're going to be more tuned in and listening to what's being said in a podcast than what's going over the radio, in my mind. And that's not to put the radio down. Everything has its place. But podcasts are growing faster and faster and bigger and becoming something that I think is going to be taking over the media market.
I agree. I mean, I know that there is a clientele, clearly, that reads the newspaper and listens to the radio. Otherwise, they would be out of business.
Yes.
Now, they are a certain type of clientele. I am not one of them personally, but maybe it's a generational thing. I don't really know. And podcasts maybe are a thing that's upcoming. But when it comes to advertising, you got to really figure out where to spend your time, your money, your efforts. And I think that this is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree as well. My first podcast, I don't even remember the year, but it was before 2019 when I sold the business. And I had over 100 episodes in that podcast that we designed ourselves. It was a little bit more work involved. My husband did the editing. It was very lengthy process, but my goal with that whole podcast was called Podcast for Business, was businesses helping businesses build business. So in the Atlanta area, there was a networking group, not like we both all know. It was a closed category, and we'll talk more about what that means. But my purpose selfishly was to invite that person to my shop, 1,500 square feet, come back into my office. That meant they had to walk past all of my products, all of the inventory, and they just would say, wow, I didn't know that you had this here. And that was often their statement. So, but we would talk about, okay, Shara, how does an organizing company help a company like mine with 1,500 square feet of inventory, little Hershey Kisses and little tchotchkes and piles of ribbon and all that kind of stuff? How does your organized company help me stay organized? Or if it was a chiropractor, for instance, I am sitting all day on the computer. What do I need to do to help alleviate the pain in my back? How does that help? Or, if you even simpler, a bookkeeper, what do I need to know to do my bookkeeping better as a business owner with a high inventory business? And that's what we would talk about. And they would come in and take a deeper dive into all of that in a podcast format and bring it back to air it. And in the meantime, I gained a little bit more of a look-see for that person that came through my shop, and they saw all I did. So it just kind of confirmed maybe some suspicions or answered questions that they had in their mind about my business. So it was a great way and platform to do that.
And I don't think that people realize how much businesses can help each other. And like you just said, you know, you get a chiropractor in. Well, how's that going to help your tree trends, or how's that going to help your beach rentals? But again, you know, it doesn't really have to relate to that directly. But you don't realize how these businesses can help each other. Right. Continue to gain business by creating those relationships and being able to refer each other without even thinking the obvious reasons.
And I not to interrupt, but I think one of the biggest things that networking and podcasting and so forth does is it allows you a little insight into the person. Because if you trust and you get to know the person a little bit more, you're more apt to hire that person to do whatever job it is that you
Absolutely.
100% agree.
Absolutely.
It's a know-like-trust thing. But also, why are we in business? It's to support our families, to pay our bills, to take Junior to the park. It's all of those things, the intangible things that we don't see. We're all families. We had to pay our bills some way. And that's why we're in business, is to grow it so we can support our family and do the things that we all want to do, scuba, you know, travel, whatever it is. Take
the passion, your passion.
Your passion. Exactly. And you want to be able to do that. So why wouldn't you want to get to know, like, and trust the person who does sift and sort, and the person who does landscaping, the person who does wills and trusts? You need all of those things in your life to make life, you know, just happen. So.
And I really, you know, there's something really to be said about networking and getting to know each other. It's been something very new to me over the last couple of years, and I struggle with it. I mean, I know that we'll dive into that in other episodes, but it is a struggle, especially, you know, when you have 2 of them a week, which I think all of us in this studio go to. Not to name any names at the moment, but yes, I mean, twice a week, seeing the same group of people, trying to be fresh and relevant. Now, Diane does network 2 different businesses, so for her, it is a little bit easier maybe to
change hats.
She does change hats, but it is a challenge. But I think definitely not understanding people and judging based on appearance or what you get your 30 seconds to say. I think that's why we're here, is to be able to change those perceptions.
So in this Flagler Voice, how many different businesses are you working with that you're building bridges, that they are building bridges is?
Yes. Yes. The
well, they're building bridges is. And that thing that goes over water, that bridge, how many different businesses are you working with?
Oh, well, we do one type of podcast that's called the 15-Minute Business Expo, where we bring a business in and they get 15 minutes to say whatever they want to say. And we've, through that particular type of podcast, I can't even tell you, most of both of our networking groups that I belong to, and you guys also belong to, we brought in a good portion of everything. I would say probably in that vein, well, we have over 400 videos out now. And I would say in that vein, we probably have 30 different businesses in the past year have come in.
That's amazing.
Done that. Yeah, it's worked really well. And then we have, for reoccurring, like this show, half-hour podcasts, we have 7 coming up to 8 that happen each week. So that portion is building as well. And it takes the time to build a business. They don't happen overnight.
Right.
And again, with that, you have to build trust as well. People want to, you know, if they're going to put their money into something, they want to make sure they're getting something back.
Absolutely.
It's important.
You know, everything takes time. And this is one medium that you can use to build your business. You know, there's printed media, there's voice media, there's, you know, all these kind of things. And a small business owner especially, they don't know where to put that dollar. This, you got to look at the audience that you're reaching. And, you know, at 200,000 across your podcast, that's impressive. And that is, you know, is attractive to a small business. I want to get our names out there. We want to also help people who are in business to learn how to do it easier, better, wiser, more efficient.
And I do want to go back to what you were saying earlier of why, you do become your own business owner. And I think partially you might have gone through a job where you just didn't feel like, your worth was valued. And you said, how can I make this better for myself and my family by making my value what I make it and not what someone else does? You can give somebody your all. And I mean, for me, that was one of the biggest things of starting to be an entrepreneur, was knowing that I do not need to rely on anybody to decide what my worth is and my value. And when you don't have to answer to anybody for that, it opens up a whole new world.
Definitely.
And that's why I love, I think, what I'm doing now and understanding what this whole new world is about, and being able to talk to other business owners who have multiple businesses like Alan, and multiple businesses and who have had throughout their life multiple businesses that have brought them to where they are today, and to be able to help and educate other business owners on how to just make them the best version of themselves.
Well, I can tell you, after high school, I've been self-employed all but 4 years of my life. And as far as you're concerned, Sarah, I know your story. You've mentioned your story in networking groups before, from where you started as a waitress and so forth, and all the way up through, and the store that you recently worked with that unfortunately is out of business now, but wasn't your store, but you were an employee there. And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with the way that you have taken the bull by the horn, so to speak, and ventured out, because becoming an entrepreneur and venturing out on your own, there's no paycheck guaranteed at the end of the week. There's no insurance guaranteed at the end of the week. If you don't do it, it's just not going to happen. So it takes a very strong mindset and a lot of will, determination. And like you said earlier, you have to be able to take whatever comes at you.
Absolutely.
Especially when you were in politics.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, you and I have both been called all kinds of things.
Oh, yes.
I found out stuff about me that I never knew.
I bet.
Yeah. So, but it does take a very strong and certain person. It's not for everybody.
No.
And it's not for the weak.
No.
And I'm not saying people that have a 9 to 5 or a normal 9 to 5 a week. Actually, a lot of times I envy them, because at the end of the week, when I don't have a paycheck and they do, that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a whole episode on itself, really, to be able to do that. And I told myself when I left this last job that I would never, they say never. I will never work for somebody again, but you never know what's going to happen. I mean, if this doesn't work out, I'm going to give it my all. That's what I'm going to do. And I thank you, Alan, for even saying that and acknowledging that, because it has been a journey to know to take this on and to become a self-employed business owner on something that, people don't even know that they really need. And of course, we can get into that also on how deep organizing really is, because it's not just about making things look pretty, but it is, a psychological situation. But it is, I am ready for this challenge, and I'm going to we only live once, so we know. So why not, like you say, grab it by the horns, and wherever it goes, it goes. And I know my worth, and I know what I'm good at, and I'm just going to keep on running.
Sure.
Yeah, if I may, I can add to that a little. I've straddled the fence while I was building a business, namely Boney Booties, because of the setback and the grief that went with all that. I just didn't have the financial footing to continue. So I went out and I got a part-time job, because I knew that would help me take some of the edge off of the financial burden that was not coming in after Brian passed. But at the end of the day, you're grinding for your business, you're punching the clock. You're doing, entrepreneurs, they take a lot. It takes a lot. They're doing the networking thing. They're trying to straddle the family, supporting the family, contributing to the marketing budget. All that stuff is intense, and it causes stress. So straddling the fence for me was even up until this summer. I was working the part-time job until I felt comfortable enough to just cut it loose and let it go.
Take the leap.
And take the leap. And it was the other business, too, was something that my husband and I always wanted to do, is the woodworking. We have over 103 years in woodworking, so it just made sense for us to go back to that and be at home and have a shop and all of that stuff. But, it's not for sissies.
No.
Entrepreneurism is not for sissies. And we need each other. Sometimes that bridge is fear. There's no bridge on the other side,
Right,
and you're
right.
fearful of trying to take that leap. If you can't get over that fear of taking that one step in front of the other, then you'll never get to the other side.
And not being afraid to fail if you do it.
Right.
Well, yeah, there's been a lot of failures.
But how do you grow without them, right?
Well, I say failures, but then I kind of smack myself upside the head. It's not failures. It's building that bridge one step at a time, one piling at a time, one screw or bolt at a time. And, they say iron sharpens iron, and that's how I believe things work. You're not going to know what it's like to do that business unless you take that step and maybe fail or maybe get hurt or maybe whatever the scenario would be. You wouldn't know unless you did it.
And it gives you the experience
Yeah.
to do the
Absolutely.
next one and not make the same
Absolutely.
mistakes
Right.
again.
And some people make the
And we all
same
make
mistakes.
mistakes.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're human.
But that did actually happen to me in November when I was kind of tossing this idea around, doing all this research, trying to come up with a name that was kind of, cute and catchy. And I actually almost gave up because I started to do some research and I'm like, oh, there's some other organizers locally that are already established here. And
I got to be honest with you, not to interrupt you.
yes, please.
I see you, as you know, because I like each one of them.
Yes, thank you, Alan, for that.
Your ads and so forth on Facebook all over the place. I have never seen anybody else. So
There you go.
you've got the market there in mind.
Yes, and I think also that's another layer that we'll peel back is a little bit of marketing background, and maybe we can even bring somebody else in the studio that's already here with some of that while he's looking around. But I did actually throw my hands up in the air and said, you know what, this isn't for me. It's already out there. What can I bring? What can I do to make myself stand out? And I threw everything on the side and I went to sleep and I said, I'm done. And I woke up the next day and I said, how many realtors do we have in Flagler County?
Yeah.
How many nail salons do we have in Flagler County? How many lawn guys, pool guys? And I started to just run through all this. And I said, you know what? I've gone this far. I'm just going to see what happens. And so far, I'm
glad
just,
you did.
yeah, me too. I mean, I'm loving this and I'm loving these relationships that we're making and being able to, again, refer and help each other. And it is something that's my passion is to help and give back. So it is very rewarding, not just only for myself, but to see others actually succeed as well.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to this bridge of business building. I've always seen myself as a connector. And when someone needs XYZ, whatever it is, I got a guy.
Yes.
I know a guy.
Right.
I can help with that. And I get kind of jazzed about being able to help a person get over that bridge of self-doubt, the bridge of how do I register my business? I mean, let's talk about that fun stuff. No, that's not fun. I hate it, actually, and how do I set up this thing? How do I get the domain? How do I, whatever you want to put there is fun for me to connect.
Absolutely. And being resourceful, I think, is tremendous.
Right. And I'm not strong in every part of that. I think that is one of the things that the goal of building bridges is going to solve for us.
I agree.
Not solve, but, aid in helping us get over there.
Absolutely. And I am never and have never been afraid of asking any questions. So if I ask too many, you just got to let me know because I will not stop until I get all the information I need in order to make a decision. And I think that's something that I'm not afraid to talk to anybody about anything. And that does help, I think, with the resources and being able to continue to build those bridges.
Well, being strong enough to ask those questions, not being embarrassed about it. I may fail at, whatever, doing my inventory correctly. Next time, if I fall, I'll figure it out and do it better. That's part of business development, growing into the business. If I need an attorney to do wills and testaments or DNR, I don't know that stuff. How am I going to get that? You know, and I'm going to get that by talking to the right people and bridging myself, being vulnerable or learning or asking those questions to know that I'm going to get the answer one way or the other. I'm going to get it.
This is so awesome. I'm loving this.
So what else in the podcast world, where do you see it going? Not only yours, but
podcast is going to become the thing. And again, not just mine, although I want mine to be the thing.
Of course.
We did we asked AI the other day about our audience and you know, how do we compare it to other studios globally, right? I think we're the only one in Flagler County, but how do we compare globally to everything? And with the audience that we've created and the time that we've been able to create it, we're in the top 1%.
What?
Don't ask.
Say it isn't so.
I didn't say
Say it loud. Say it proud.
Yeah. So, but I think that's, they say it takes a couple of years to get up to 2,500.
Wow.
And so we've done really well, and I'm jazzed about that. But what I see happening was what I mentioned earlier. Radio is linear. Radio is now car noise. You don't listen to it at home. But even that, I think, is going to be changing because now you have Apple Play and so forth, and people can pick what they want to hear that then plays through their car stereo system while they're driving down the road. So I don't think radio will ever go away because it has its place and it's useful, especially in emergencies and so forth, because, you know, internet goes out, we're internet-based, that would be a problem. But I think podcasting, and I'm going to say we because we're in the podcasting, but I think that podcasting is going to become the main medium in the not too distant future because everybody's becoming more technically minded or technologically minded and not afraid of turning on the computer and listening to stuff and doing it. You know, the older generation may have issues with it.
Well, I'm the older generation and I don't have issues with it. I mean, I've been doing it.
Yeah.
May. You know, it's interesting. I just thought of this just now. The second podcast I had was about fly fishing for women. It was so niche-y, but an entity in another state heard it and told us to cease and desist because part of the name, we were called Fly Girl Fish, was somehow tangled up in what they were doing in that state. So, you know, it was a cease and desist. But the point here is that they heard it up in Michigan. It was like, okay, you know, we'll change the name, but it ended up fizzling out. And it wasn't, I don't think it was a failure because we got the message up to to that state.
Right. And that whole point is to get the message out.
Right. And, you know, for women, fly fishing was, you know, was very male dominated. And there's a big entity that's coming up in the women's that sport to and we just wanted to support them. How do I do this? What do I do? Where do you get it? How do you get waders for women? I mean, it was a big thing, but you know, in any event, that we succeeded in getting the word out so much so that, you know,
Too much so.
maybe too much so, but that's okay. I don't, you know, it's not a big deal, but it was effective.
Well, thank you all for listening, and hope you look forward to hearing our next one.
I have one more question.
Oh,
Alan.
Okay, we'll do it.
What bridge do you see yourself in the podcast? Flagler Voice, what bridge does that? What bridge would you call this platform?
You know, earlier you were talking about a railroad bridge where it's strong and steady, and I kind of look at us along that line, but I'd call it the Golden Gate Bridge.
There you go.
Okay.
Because I think that through podcasting we have a lot of lanes and a lot of growth that we can do and a lot of people we can reach and help. So and by bringing them towards their business goals, sort of is the Golden Gate. So that's the type of bridge I would look at.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Interesting.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. Stay tuned till our next one.
Yes, make sure you share us with others. We want to get out there fast.
Cool.
Build that bridge.
Bye now.
Bye.